as improvising musicians, one thing that really should be at the forefront of our mind is the topic of phrasing. You know, it doesn't really matter how many notes you can play, how great your tone is, your articulation skills, etc., if you can't put them together into a good musical story, which really involves phrasing. Now, I've got a new subscriber, Joel, that came to me looking for information, lessons, etc. on phrasing. And I started thinking, you know, I've got a lot of lessons that cover phrasing topics, the Soloing on Tunes series, Blues by the Fours, Making Sense of Jazz Improvisation. I've got lots of phrasing topics that are covered in these different lessons, but I don't have a lesson, or at least I didn't have until now, a lesson that really goes right to some phrasing concepts. Now, you know, there's probably no way that I could come up with a lesson that covers all phrasing concepts, because I certainly couldn't even think of all the possible ways you can tell stories. One of the things you do is you follow great players, you observe, you listen to their solos, and you analyze their phrasing. One of the suggestions I gave, you know, there are many complex ways to phrase, but I like to kind of simplify the process when we're first really starting to focus on practicing phrasing. So I've kind of broken it down into 4 topics that we'll cover. You know, there's call and response. A lot of times in blues you do use call and response. I've got a technique called point up, point down. It's an inversion technique I'll show you. There's also a sequencing technique, and we'll get into that more in just a little bit. And then there's also theme and development. But one of the things that we'll do in each one of these topics, with, you know, as we approach each one of these, is we'll work with taking a motif, a short musical sentence or a short musical statement, and I like to use simple motifs for these exercises at first. Not a lot of notes, just a few notes. We'll get into it as we go along. Okay, but also with each one of these techniques, I've created a little play-along track, which I've got a blues play-along track we'll use for call and response, and then I've got little excerpts from other tunes, you know, like little 8-bar sections of the chord changes, because I don't want this to be about learning to play the chord changes as much as it is about learning how to structure and approach a few of these different techniques with regards to creating phrases, musical sentences, storytelling, that sort of thing. Or lengthier lines, longer lines. That would invert to something along the lines of, you know, so you could end up going on and on with development, where you maybe start with 3 notes and you start adding more notes to it, but you're still working with that point up, point down, or the inversion. So you hear that whatever idea I'm playing, I'm just inverting the shape of it. Now, you don't have to do the exact same rhythm on the inversion. You have a lot of rhythmic freedom. This is really about inverting the structure of the notes, not the structure of the rhythm so much, but the structure of the notes. Okay? So we'll alternate really 8-bar, and I shouldn't say 8-bar phrases, because these are mini phrases within the 8-bar structure. So we'll alternate 8-bar passages. How about if I put it like that? Okay, here goes.